Grab your favorite beverage. It's time for the Beers and Bruisers Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's up, fantasy freaks and geeks? Welcome to the Week 4 Part 1 edition of the Beers and Bruisers Fantasy Football Podcast. Another week in the NFL and another big-time player goes down to injury. We will talk about the injury concerns for Week 4. We will drop in Adam's FanDuel lineup of the week, and we will finish out the episode with the Eagles at the Packers Thursday night football game. To get us started here, we got Saquon Barkley with a high ankle sprain. Timetable looks like he's going to be out 4 to 8 weeks. And, I mean, if you look at the Giants' schedule, they got a good matchup here against the Redskins in Week 4, but after that they got a couple tough matchups, and if they're 2-4, 2-5, when Saquon, gets back to being in line to return, I can see them taking their sweet time with him. He's very important to that team, obviously. They drafted him, second overall 2 years ago. So I could see them taking their time. I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to the 8 weeks than it is to the 4 weeks. If you're a Saquon owner, I hope you handcuffed him. Gallman is going to be getting the lion's share of these touches now, and with this new quarterback in place, and now with Sterling Shepard out of the concussion protocol, and another week and we'll have Golden Tate back. It's starting to look like a legit offense, and now they just need their best player back. So in the meantime, I think at least this week, Dwayne Gallman could see could have some serious value. Maybe not in the weeks following with those tough matchups, like I said, but I think Wayne Gallman is definitely worth playing this week. Another guy that got hurt last week, T.Y. Hilton, he re-aggravated a quad injury. He missed the remainder of the game once he left, and I think it was the middle of the third quarter. So be ready to replace him in your starting lineup if he's somebody that you've been counting on throughout this season. He's been playing great, putting up touchdowns all like crazy. Another guy, Vance McDonald, he has a shoulder injury. There's no update as of right now. I'm recording this Wednesday night. It's tough to figure out this one because he did miss the rest of the game after he went down. But I mean, when Mason Rudolph came into the game week 2, Vance McDonald was clearly his favorite target. He saw those 2 touchdowns. So if he plays, I think he's worth playing in your lineup as well. Another guy that is probably going to be questionable going right up to game time, Julian Edelman. He had x-rays done on his chest. They apparently came back negative. There's nothing broken or anything like that. So, he's probably going to be questionable. And with the way that the Patriots release their injury report every week, you have no idea who's dealing with what. So, if Julian Edelman were to miss, I think Philip Dorsett is definitely worth owning. We've seen him catch, I don't know how many touchdowns, 3 so far this season, I think now. And they're still adjusting to life without Gronk, and they got no AB now that after he's been cut. And if they're down Julian Edelman, the most consistent target for Tom Brady, I think Philip Dorsett should see a nice healthy target share in the absence of Julian Edelman. And the last guy here, LaShawn McCoy, he also re-aggravated an ankle injury in the fourth quarter. Darrell Williams took the majority of the snaps while McCoy was out. So I think if McCoy were to miss, if Darrell Williams was not picked up last week, I think he's someone you could easily stream and someone that I would definitely be interested in playing in DFS lineups because of his price. On that offense, you take those opportunities any way they come, and if you can pick up a guy off the waiver wire that's going to be in the best offense in football and is going to get opportunities, he is definitely worth a play. So those are the injury concerns going into Week 4, on top of all the guys that are already hurt, David Njoku and Hunter Henry, guys like this. But definitely guys you're going to want to keep an eye on throughout this week, especially Julian Edelman. I think his absence may have the biggest impact on the rest of the team, so definitely keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the FanDuel lineup of the week here, so stay tuned. We are here with Adam Natras and the Week 4 DFS lineup of the week. Adam, I know Week 3 was not successful for us again, but we are going to get this one no matter what. I think we got a little too excited about the Ravens stack last week, didn't we?
How could you not? But apparently we could not, and yeah, unfortunately it just did not work out for us.
We got it with Lamar.
Yeah,
we did work with Lamar, but we missed out on the tight end and Marquise Brown. But
if we're highlighting anything, let's talk about that Mike Evans call.
Yeah, that's true. He did do work. He was nice and healthy and no longer sick, and he put up, what was it, 3 touchdowns and almost 200 yards?
He did work. I mean, he was incredible. But I think a lot of people saw that coming, so I won't toot too hard on my own horn.
All right, let's get into the lineup of this week. We were just taking a couple minutes going through it, and I know I said it last week, but I really do like this one too. So what are we doing at QB this week?
All right, so quarterback this week, we're going to throw everyone for a loop a little bit here. And we are going with Russell Wilson for $7,800. Now, I know the popular pick is going to be Phillip Rivers playing Miami for the same price. However, I mean, Matt Russell, he's just been playing. He's incredible.
He's so much fun to watch. He's great. He does everything. You can sit in the pocket and dissect you, or he can roll out and hit you with a deep pass. He can run on you. He's awesome. I love him.
Let's not forget Arizona's defense just allowed 4 touchdowns to Kyle Allen.
Allen, yeah.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, we were just mentioning these quarterbacks are coming out of left field at this point.
And the other thing in Seattle is that Chris Carson has fumbled a couple times so far in 3 games, and maybe if they get down to the goal line, maybe they're a little more confident in Russell running the QB sneak than trying to run power with Chris Carson, or on a 3rd down play where he can maybe they call a designed run with the quarterback instead. Just little things to keep in mind. If he's the same price as Phillip Rivers. To me, you got to be figuring that Russell Wilson has more upside because of his legs. You know that Rivers is never going to give you anything rushing. So, yeah, and Russell's like the 5th or 6th most expensive quarterback this week?
He's comparatively speaking, yeah, he's down there. I mean, he's like, I think he's actually the 7th.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, not bad value, and he's got a great matchup. So I love it. What are we doing with running backs here?
So speaking of not taking Phillip Rivers, we are going to go with his running back and clear workhorse, Austin Eckler, for $8,100. Now, this is from all signs are pointing to Melvin Gordon might be playing the following week. So this could be Austin's last hurrah as that true, whatever this past 4 weeks has been.
I don't know if he's an RB1, but he's been playing like it for sure.
Call him. Right. I'm not really sure what to refer to it as. But this aberration of a 4-week span, I'm paying up $8,100 playing Miami. I think Austin Eckler is the way to go.
Cool. And then you got Chris Thompson as the RB2, right? $5,300. Nice cheap little running back that's probably going to catch some passes for us in a game that they're most likely going to be trailing again.
Let's just refer to him as the curveball for the week. That game, if anything, should be interesting. You know what I mean? Neither defense has stood out. So I think especially the Giants, I think Chris Thompson could very well come out with big day receiving.
Cool. Maybe some kind of little shootout there. Maybe bet the over on that game, right? 2 bad defenses.
I definitely wouldn't go the under. I definitely could see that over being ridiculous at this point too.
Cool.
Closer you get to Sunday.
All right, let's get into our wide receivers. I know we got a we got a three guy stack here, kind of like what we did last week. But this stack's gonna get it done. So who we got with our number one wide receiver for this week?
We're going with Russell's number one wide receiver and doing that stack off the bat. Tyler Lockett, 6,600. He's looked pretty all right in my book, and there's just not many other options.
Yeah, I mean, the rookie DK Metcalf's played pretty well. I think he had a touchdown last week, didn't he? But
yeah, he's been all right, but in the scheme of these offenses and how good Russell is, he's the type of quarterback who really could throw to all five people, but there's just not five guys to throw to there.
Yeah, and Lockett's although DK has
reliable.
And DK's come on and he's proved to be, at least in the first 3 games of his rookie season, he's proved to be a pretty good pick for them. So,
absolutely.
But Lockett's still the man there, and he still gets those targets, and he still has that connection with Russell Wilson. And if you're going to play a stack, you're probably going to want to go with, especially a quarterback wide receiver stack, where you want that connection, right? You want people that have that chemistry.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, last Sunday, Lockett just had 14 targets, 154 yards, a touchdown.
Yeah, like 14 freaking targets, man. Come on.
That's crazy. And again, Arizona's defense has not proven to be anything. For 6,600, any guy that just got 14 targets, I will happily put on my team, especially if we have the quarterback throwing to him.
If there's some kind of formula out there that's got, FanDuel pricing to, expected target share, you got to expect Tyler Lockett's going to have one of the best values there because, for $6,600 for a guy that 14 targets last week, I mean, he's overlooked because he's not a big dude and he doesn't run every route, but he's been a consistent wide receiver too, for years now. No matter what other wide receivers are on that team. So I like this stack. I like the first 2 of this stack. We'll give you a little teaser as to what the third part is. But what are we doing with our wide receiver 2 spot this week?
So our wide receiver 2 of that same target. Theory that we've just came up with, our new algorithm, if you will.
Yeah.
We're going with a guy that if you combined him with Lockett last week, they got 26 pass attempts to the 2 of them in Cooper Kupp for 7,000. Apparently, Jared Goff has forgotten that he has anybody else on the team to throw the ball to. Cooper Kupp literally just got a 12-target game. I mean, if that's the case, yeah.
That's his second straight double-digit target game, is it not?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I love
Apparently, Robert Woods isn't playing football for them anymore in Jared Goff's mind.
I know. I was watching, what the hell was it? Something on ESPN, and they were talking about how it seems like so far throughout the first 3 games that a lot of those targets that were going to the running backs last year, to Todd Gurley, that some of those are kind of now going towards Cooper Kupp, and maybe that's why we've seen, an increase in his usage so far this season, and maybe teams are just trying to at least try and focus on taking one of the 3 guys away and see what the team can do with the other 2. But to me, it seems like you should be taking away Cooper Kupp before you should be taking away Robert Woods if they're going to use him like this. But
right,
if they're going to keep
200-yard games. Yeah,
I mean, if they're going to keep throwing him the ball this much and he's going to keep getting all these opportunities, then hell yeah, let's put him in the lineup here.
And speaking of opportunity, I feel like that's a great transition.
Yeah, holy crap! You look at the target share of these 3 wide receivers we got. I'm sorry to dive in here, but yeah, I'll let you take over. But damn, we got some targets coming our way with these 3.
Fantastic point. Actually, I'm actually glad you pointed that out because so far we said 2 ridiculous. So what's our total at? 26 targets, right?
Yeah.
So add in the absurd 17 targets for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen. So what is that? 17, 24. So we're at literally 41 targets between our 3 receivers. There are offenses that don't throw the ball that many times at all.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan, and it's not just 1 week thing with Keenan Allen. He's got 42 targets on the season throughout 3 games. That's an average of 14 targets a game. They're down Hunter Henry. Mike Williams has been banged up. He's been in and out of the lineup. They're obviously without Melvin Gordon, so it's the Keenan Allen show, and he's got probably the best matchup in fantasy football right now. So yeah, let's get Keenan Allen into this lineup as well.
Respect to his 42 targets. Respect to our 3 receivers 41.
And it's funny. It's funny that him and Eckler, both 8,100, are the most expensive players we have in the lineup this week. But I think it totally makes sense, and I think they're going to be worth every penny.
And we're still sticking with our boy Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
no question.
Yes, we
and
are.
Speaking of, again, I'm going to just keep doing this transition and tell you that for a tight end, 7 targets, 6 of which were caught, 62 yards, and a touchdown. That's right. The other part of our dual team stack, Will Disley.
Yeah.
5,400. I mean, he's been great.
$5,400 for a dude that the Seattle Seahawks just traded away their second tight end to the Steelers, and the Cardinals are one of the best matchups as far as fantasy football goes for tight ends as it is right now. Throughout the first 3 weeks, they're giving up a ridiculous amount of yards and catches to tight ends, or just fantasy points in general. So yeah, this is another great matchup, and $5,400. He's as him and our DST are the same price. So for a guy that has that much upside, and kind of completes this little this stack of ours here. So very nice. I like Will Disley at our tight end spot. What are we doing at flex?
All right, at flex, it's I don't even know what you'll call it in Washington at this point, but the rookie wonder, Terry McLaurin, coming in at 6,300, averaging 17.23 fantasy points in FanDuel per game this season.
He's got 3 touchdowns on the season now?
He is, yeah. Yep. 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's just been against the Bears. He caught a touchdown, 70 yards, 6 catches. Like, that's a good game. Doesn't seem to matter who they play.
Yeah.
He did it against Dallas. He did it against Philadelphia. I mean, I see absolutely no reason. He's already done it to 2 teams in the division. Why not, in the flex position, have a guy that's going to do it to the 3rd team in the division as he plays the Giants, arguably the worst defense of them all.
Damn, the Redskins had 3 division games to start the season out?
Yeah. Well,
wow.
I think they've played everybody after this week.
Damn, well, 3 out of 4. They had 3 out of 4 division games, and the 4th game was against the Bears on Monday Night Football. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah,
man. That was the break in the division games for them, was the Bears. Think
right.
about that.
Yeah, that sucks.
That was their reprieve, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this dude is obviously emerging as their number 1 target, and again with Jordan Reed out and with the running back situation that they have, seems like with Geis out and Adrian Peterson with his situation, it seems like McLaurin is really just competing with Chris Thompson for those those valuable targets, not just the the deep throws and whatnot. So, yeah, man, let's throw him in the flex, $6,300, and let's win some money. And then to round out the lineup this week, what are we doing at DST?
I don't even think I need to announce it at this point, but I'm gonna, just to be nice. But absolutely taking the Los Angeles Chargers for an absurd price of $5,300, the highest price of defense has been this season on FanDuel.
They are the highest priced defense throughout the season so far.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. 5,000 was the peak, but nope. 5,300 playing that fantastic Miami Dolphin team. And here's the craziest part about this, right? They're 5,300. They've only averaged 4.6 points a game for FanDuel.
Right. Actually. It's not like they've went out and put up, good numbers as far as a DST goes. They just happen to be playing the Dolphins this week.
Right. And you know what? At this point, too, if you look at the other matchups, as we were going, it's really the only standout one.
Right.
All these backup quarterbacks have seemed to have been able to run their teams, efficiently. So this is clearly the best matchup. I think everybody's going to be going with it. While expensive, it still could pay off.
And like we were saying last week with the Patriots, they were the highest priced defense last week, and I mean, when you have this much of an advantageous matchup here, to me it makes sense to make that the position that you pay up for, considering you're only paying at most $800, $900 more than the average price of a DST, which it's a decent chunk. But I mean, if they're going to have this kind of matchup, they're going to get takeaways, they're going to get sacks, they're going to hold the defense to a low yardage and total score. So I like it, man. I like it a lot. I like this lineup. I know I've said it every week, but I really like this lineup. And hopefully this one hits.
Lineup that breaks the streak.
Yeah, hopefully this one hits, so we can use our the drop that we've been wanting to use, and and after this week, maybe we'll have to call an audible. Maybe we'll have to start doing some type of conference call so we can make these selections together. But we got to win one of these, so hopefully this is the one. Hopefully week 4 is when we can get off the schnoz, I guess you say. And hopefully this is the lineup. I like it, like I said. So, Adam, thank you very much, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, happy fantasy hunting.
We are back with the Thursday night preview of the Week 4 Part 1 episode of the Beers and Bruisers Fantasy Football Podcast. We got the Eagles going up to Green Bay to play the Packers. Eagles coming off of that tough loss against the Lions. The Packers coming off of a nice win against the Broncos. On the Packers side of the ball, if you look at the Eagles' defense last week, they held Kerryon Johnson to under 2 yards a carry. And these Packer running backs rushed for under 80 yards on 22 carries last week. So it's not like they lit it up at all. I know Aaron Jones did have the 2 touchdowns, but the Eagles' D is allowing the 5th fewest fantasy points to running backs right now. I think this game is going to be a great teller as to where the Eagles truly do stack up after this being their 4th game, and how these Packer running backs and how this Packer run game is going to look. Aaron Rodgers is not throwing the ball as much as we've been accustomed to him throwing the ball. It's kind of weird seeing them in somewhat low-scoring games. I know last week they put up 27 points, had 3 touchdowns, but like I said, Aaron Jones got 2 of them on the ground. He only had 10 carries, only had 19 yards. Very strange. He was only targeted once. They didn't jump out to a big lead, but they were pretty much in control of that game the whole time. And you can't help but think that maybe the reason why we saw Aaron Jones only get 11 total touches is maybe they're trying to save him for this Thursday night game. It's kind of the 2 different sides of the coin to look at it. But as far as the wide receivers go, Devontae Adams has been getting a ridiculous amount of attention from the defenders that they face. Obviously, which is why we saw MVS get 10 targets last week, and he put up 100 yards, caught 6 of them, had a touchdown, looked great. So maybe this is the week that that we see Devontae Adams finally have his breakout game. Last week in week 3 we saw Mike Evans finally have his big game. Now that he's finally healthy and feeling good. So also the Eagles defense allows the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers. So the wide receivers definitely have the matchup here as far as the Packers go. Looking at the Eagles, these guys got to start holding on to the ball here, man. I mean, the Miles Sanders fumbled twice. He lost one of them last week. Nelson Aguilar also fumbled. He had at least 1 drop, probably more, I'm pretty sure. He got a ridiculous amount of targets, 12 targets last week. He did catch 8 of them for 50 yards. He had the 2 touchdowns, but he's got such an awesome opportunity here with both of the number 1, number 2 wide receivers being out for him to prove that, he does in fact deserve that number 3 role. But he's just, you got to hold on to the ball, man. You can't be fumbling. You can't be dropping passes. So Nelson Aguilar, if apparently Alshon Jeffrey is projected to play this game. To what extent, I don't know. I don't expect him to go out there and get, an 8 to 10 target day. They might, ease him back in because he's obviously very important to him. But this may be Aguilar's last chance at, this kind of target share. We saw him have almost twice as many targets as even Zach Ertz last week. So, he did have the 2 touchdowns, had a good game, but, if let's say he didn't drop that, have that fumble. Who's to say this game doesn't end differently? I think the score was within 2 or 3 points or something. It was a close game for sure. So, as far as the running backs go here, so I am a Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers owner in a half-point PPR league. I received a trade offer for Miles Sanders for my Lamar Jackson, and I was contemplating it in that league. I have 1 and 2, not off to the best start. My running back situation's not all that great. I'm also dealing with the loss of Tyreek Hill, so I got to figure out some way to get some players out of having 2 of these quarterbacks here. But I turned this offer down. I'm kind of nervous about these running backs. If you remember, going into the season, the Eagles' backfield was one of the backfields that I was avoiding on draft day. Especially now that after last week with Miles Sanders fumbling twice, and he lost goal line work to Jordan Howard, and yeah, he got 4 targets last week, but he's caught 6 of his 10 targets so far this year, and I got to believe that when these Eagles wide receivers return, you won't be seeing 4 targets a game. I'm willing to bet it's probably going to be closer to 1 or 2, especially considering how much they love Darren Sproles. They brought him back for a reason. They like him there. Now, Sanders did have 2 nice catches. One was a 40-yard catch down the sideline. The other one was a nice 33-yard run, or a 33-yard reception. But I'm still nervous. He's going to get his touches, though, and with this, because of the state of this wide receiver group, you got to figure that he's going to see at least another, just like you saw last week with the 13 carries. I know Jordan Howard still had 11, but I think 12 to 15 carry, as long as the Eagles can stay in this game with the Packers, as long as the Packers don't jump out on top of them, I can see Sanders getting those carries. But again, I'm nervous about these guys. I don't like the split between the 3 of them, that being, Sanders, Howard, and Sproles. So I'm going to say no to that trade. So Lauman, if you're listening, come up with something better, bro. So that is going to do it for the Thursday night preview. It's a short episode here. I'm sorry for getting it out to you guys Wednesday instead of, or recording Wednesday instead of Tuesday. It's been a crazy week for me. So make sure you check out part 2 coming out later in the week. And as always, may the fantasy gods be cruel to your opponents.
You have been listening to the Beers and Bruisers Fantasy Football Podcast. For more episodes and information, follow us on social media and tune in every week. Beers and Bruisers is available on Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Alexa, Reach TV, or your favorite podcast service. Beers and Bruisers is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. To find out more about this and other great shows on our network, visit us online at hcuniversalnetwork.com or download the free HC Universal Network app today. Fantasy football is fun, but gambling addiction destroys lives. If you or someone you love suffers from gambling addiction, please do not be afraid to seek help. The National Council on Problem Gaming operates a national problem gambling helpline network. Contact them today at 1-800-522-4700. Thank you for tuning in to the Beers and Bruisers Fantasy Football Podcast. Please remember to drink responsibly and always look for your man downfield.